introduction of our CourseKey team. They have some new faces, and we wanted to make sure that everyone gets to know the individuals on their team as they kind of give a great little overview about Skills Tracker. Skills Tracker is part of our Paul Mitchell kit, with PMAE. We definitely feel it's a very valuable tool to help the future professional throughout their schooling, support with the academics, the tracking. It may even have the opportunity to eliminate what we formerly would call like a worksheet specialist by removing that paper, removing that, piling up of submissions, as well as the service tracking form. So in the long run, it allows us to move to digital and be a little bit more efficient with everything that we need to know that the future professional is getting what the state requires. So we have Todd here today. We are going to walk through the agenda a little bit. So we have meet your speakers. So we have Todd and we have Eleni. We also are going to be featuring a few individuals from our network to share some best practices and tips who have been using Skills Tracker for a period of time. We're going to touch a little bit on forms, which is an opportunity for you to add on to your PMAE learning package. If you were going to do that, you would do that 100% with CourseKey, as we do not, require that within our PMAE learning kit. They'll feature the latest enhancements, talk about some new solutions, and of course, questions. So we want this to feel formal, but informal. We are recording it so we can keep it on demand for others that have questions in the future to preview. So at this time, I'd love to pass it over to Todd. So who's going to walk you through today's call?
Excellent. Thank you, Erica. Appreciate the intro. And yeah, so my name is Todd Northup. I am your client success manager. I've been working with a lot of you. I see several individuals here. Hold on, my transcript, it says click OK. All right, perfect. So several individuals I've met with already, some new faces. So just to give you some background, I've been with CourseKey now almost 5 years. Most of my experience has been with just digital technology and converting a lot of different campuses from paper-based, semi-paper-based to full digital. So I'm excited to be able to go through this webinar of best practices and tips. And you're not going to hear from me. You're actually going to be hearing from your peers. So we have the following individuals, and Eleni is having trouble logging in, or I think she just came in.
I'm here.
You're here. Okay. Do you want to give
I'm
a little bit of background?
So
Do you want to give a little bit of background real quick?
Yep. Do you want me to go through it now?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, everybody, it's so nice to see all of you. I've met many of you in my previous life at Pivot Point, and it's been a pleasure to join the CourseKey team for the last 5 months. I work in tandem with Todd to make sure that you have all the solutions that you need to optimize your school and your processes and elevate the experience for the future professionals. It's been such a pleasure to work with the PMAE team. Erica does a great job of leading with Jen. And, we're here to support you and provide any kind of support you need and collaborate on what else can be coming down the pike so we remain relevant and we can provide the solutions that you need to do great. So thank you, Todd. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, well, thank you, Eleni. So just a general overview of CourseKey. Our mission really is to provide that one-stop solution for you as faculty member, but then also your students to navigate their journey through their education program. We want to be viewed as like a fitness tracker for your students, but on the education side. So although we have additional services that we cover, attendance, forms, practical evaluations, and the pivot point, now we have SEMA integration. Today, we're focusing only on Skills Tracker, but just know that we have those other solutions. As I mentioned, you are actually going to be listening to your peers. So we can only, as CourseKey, tell you how the tool works and how to set things up. But when it comes to your day in and day out, no one better can answer your questions or provide any type of tips and practices than your peers. So we have Aaron Cowan, Aaron Walker, I believe. Is it Walker now? Okay. Aaron Walker, Executive Director, Paul Mitchell, the School of Chicago and Lombard. Nina Pronge with Paul Mitchell School Phoenix, part of the Turnage group. And then also we have Ashley Daly. So she's the director and education leader for Paul Mitchell School Maryville. So I'm gonna hold off on introductions to them. I'm gonna skip right forward into 3 slides. So we're gonna ask each of them 3 questions right off the bat. How does CourseKey impact the administrative team? How does CourseKey impact the leadership or learning leader team? And then also, how does CourseKey impact the student experience? So all 3 of those questions they're going to go through at once. And in no particular order. Erin, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. I think on an admin team, it really started when we added attendance, and that really helped streamline our process. And then as soon as we added skills tracker, it really helped alleviate a lot of our paperwork side of things and allowed our future professionals not to lose anything. And it really went hand in hand then with having that little box that said they can't submit anything unless they were clocked in. And I can tell you that made even just a huge difference on a Chicago standpoint. I can tell you my team there, the moment that we flipped on skills tracker, their attendance slips from missing punches dropped drastically, and made a huge difference just on an admin side. I mean, huge time saver right then and there. So I can tell you overall, it's been a huge time saver, everything we've done with CourseKey. And everything just goes hand in hand with all of the different things that we've chosen to add on with CourseKey and their options.
All right, thanks, Erin. Ashley, how about yourself? The administrative team, learning leader team, and students. How has the skills tracker impacted you?
It has impacted us greatly. I mean, same with what Erin said, starting off with attendance and skills tracker right off the bat, saved a lot of time. So we didn't have someone counting those worksheets all the time and then having to submit them into Freedom on top of it. Everything was able to upload. We can upload it daily, we can upload it weekly. So it took a lot of time took away our worksheet specialist. So now our future professional advisor is able to do that. And then our students are able to see in real time all of the marks that they have from like a big picture standpoint, and then able to work on them little by little. And then also tracking those theory hours that they need. We are able to enter them in bulk when they do their specialty class or when they do their theory class. We're able to enter those theory hours in bulk. So it's always entered by the learning leader. We know the correct ones are going in. And then just being able to reject or accept from the learning leader standpoint, being able to look at their photos and, oh yeah, I did check that. Or I remember working with this future professional, they were in my zone. So it cut out a lot of time on that end as well. And then the future professionals they get to see everything all the time, and we still meet with them every month or however often they need to, but it's more of, I can open up this app, I can see what's going on. And then if I need more information, then they can meet with us. So it's been amazing.
Awesome. Thank you for your feedback there. And then I believe Nina just joined. Nina, are you on the call? Thought I saw her come in. Maybe she dropped off again. I know some of the schools were having trouble with a little bit of technology, so we'll circle back to her. But just for Ashley and Erin, I mean, that visibility factor, like from the student standpoint, I know we hear a lot about the administrative, the learning leader perspective, but just from the student perspective of being able to see that they don't has that reduced the incidence of them losing their worksheets before, whereas now they can just see everything digitally. How has that benefited?
I think just in general, the visibility and the transparency, both between the future professionals and the learning leader staff. I think so much before, you never knew kind of where the students were, unless you grabbed their paper worksheet. And so knowing where they were at with their hours was kind of kept in one space. And then their worksheets, you had to grab them to see where they were at. And now there's just this overall transparency between everyone involved that the staff can see, both in the office and on the clinic classroom, as well as the future professionals across the board. And so you can really see and help support anyone throughout their entire journey throughout their time in school.
Perfect. All right.
Yes.
Ashley,
And
anything that
yeah, I just love the percentage factor. So they can go on there, and as you can see in the photo, and it tells them if I know I'm 50% done with my hours, then I should be 50% done with these marks as well. And it kind of gives them a good visual of whether or not they're in a good spot during that hour program of wherever you're at. So for us, it's 1,500 hours. So they're at 750, they can see, okay, I finished 700, or I finished 50% of my marks that I need to get. So then they know they're in a good spot.
perfect. Thank you. And it looks like Nina still hasn't joined, so I apologize about that. But moving on, then we're just going to go through each user. Then, so one thing that we heard initially when we were building the skills tracker was every school, even though it's the same network and same, kind of format, every school does things a little bit differently. So they needed that skills tracker to be customizable. Can you guys just describe your experience with that and kind of what you've learned along the way as you've used skills tracker and how that flexibility comes into play?
Yeah, we really loved the fact that we could take the guidelines, the outlines, everything that PMAE has provided for us, and still utilize CourseKey within those boundaries and within those guidelines. We were still using the worksheets as a map for us to allow and keep our future professionals on track. We felt that was the easiest way for us within our systems and within our staff. That was kind of where we gauged that to be best for our team at the time. And then still utilizing, what you didn't grab in this screenshot was we created a whole checklist just for scorecards. We found a way that worked for us, and having a monthly scorecard and had a whole separate checklist just for that. So that's kind of utilizing a tool that's there for us with inside PMAE and create a whole checklist that worked for our system and our schools. So CourseKey really gives us that flexibility, and we love that.
Awesome. Perfect. And then Ashley, same question. I know you guys have a little bit of a different structure.
Yes. So the flexibility of the future professionals being able to kind of break down all of their worksheets that they had. At the time, we kind of saw the challenge of them having to do so many styles and cuts on one worksheet and then facials on another worksheet. And sometimes those services fluctuate monthly or hourly. So we found it easier for us just to kind of take all of their practical marks that they needed to get, and we have it broken down. Our state requires mannequin and live. So we were able to put that in there under their practical training for 75% of their haircuts have to be done on a mannequin, and then the other 25% is live. So it's broken down even more. Even into our texture services, we could break it down to, which is something that we figured out along the way. We saw our future professionals not doing as many perm wraps and just doing relaxers because they felt like it was much quicker. So we were able to go back in and adjust that and edit it. So now we have it so they have to do so many perm wraps, they have to do so many relaxers. So we love that we're able to adjust it over time. If we see that something's not working, we can make it work. And then we have their evaluations in there separately, their grad map, so they know every step of the way they're staying on track.
Awesome. No, I'm glad to hear that the evaluations is working for you. And did you guys turn it on gradable? I can't remember.
We are working on that now.
You're working on that now. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, we have that as one of the future enhancements I'll go over in a bit. Nina, are you on?
Yes. Sorry.
Awesome. No, it's okay. You guys you're running a school, so we know how it is. Okay, I'm going to skip back a couple slides. The first questions are, how does CourseKey impact the administrative team, the learning leader team, and the student experience at your campus, at the Phoenix campus?
Well, I think for us, it kind of all circles together, but for an administrative standpoint, it's a really great coaching tool. So when we're having conversations with the success coaches and going through academics, SAP checks, different things like that, we have the availability to pull up all of their information, all their practical work, all in one place. Where when we used to be on worksheets, right, you would have to pull that file with all of that different information and have to kind of figure out where they were at, where they should be. There was a lot more legwork that you had to do maybe ahead of time before those types of meetings. And now you're able to just pull it up, see where they're at live right in that moment. And they can pull it up on their end. And so you can hold that accountability of, hey, can you pull up your skills tracker? Can you pull up your CourseKey? Let's look at your attendance. Let's look at your academic, and show them like live how to find those things and also how to look at it from different standpoints that maybe you're trying to coach them in. So I love it that way. The learning leaders think that the way that it goes now is so much easier for classroom and clinic to be able to get that work uploaded and graded. And it's not as many, them standing in line with, you're signing your life away or you're stamping your life away, however your school likes to do those worksheets. But, it's much easier. We go in multiple times a day to do grading so that we can keep up with it. And obviously they're live action. So we're still seeing that work. We're still able to like coach forward, like give that feedback, things like that in the classroom standpoint. And I think for the future professionals, they really enjoy it because they feel like they're able to see their progress differently. They can see where they're at, where they need to go. They have basically a walking progress report at any time. So it eliminates the need to, hey, can I get a progress report? Oh, when are we getting progress reports? Can I sit down? Can we go over my hours? They can do that independently, gather all their questions, and then just come into those meetings more prepared also. So I think it makes them feel more accountable to the work and their requirements that we're asking for. And, every state is different. So where they're at in the program, you're able to see those percentages and able to kind of speak to that with them and help them understand. So we really love it. We are CourseKey people over here in Phoenix. So we try to use it as much as we can because, you can communicate with them. If the work isn't correct and maybe they tried to get around, trying to, future professionals try to, get around us and sneak through the system, but it's a lot easier to catch those things because you're able to have to open those attachments, give that feedback for rejection, see them live in person and connect with them also. So it's a great communication tool.
Awesome. Excellent. Yeah. Glad to hear that communication tool. That's a pretty consistent theme that we've heard with a lot of clients, just that visibility factor that everybody gets to see the same information at the same time. There's no guesswork. And then making those, meetings with the students more impactful because they feel more prepared. Right. And then the next question then, what's the one thing that you would like everyone to know about your experience with CourseKey? And we showed, Aaron's and Ashley's configuration. So everybody has a little bit different of a setup, which is one of the strengths of CourseKey, right? It's fully customizable. So if you can just share your experience with that.
Yeah, the way that our campuses have it set up goes really great because it matches along with our catalog. So it speaks the same language. So sometimes when the worksheets, we would have that translation issue of sometimes it didn't always translate to the contract or the catalog. And so you can really make it speak to your program for consistency. So ours is set up to really speak to how the catalog is broken down for what the state requires for each section and how we kind of rotate through that. So it's still based off worksheets, but just set up a little bit differently, more in the way that their schedule goes for their 1,500 hours. So they do core protege for 10 weeks and, they're not allowed to work on any live guests before they're at 300 hours. So they have a lot more requirement in what has to kind of adapt and add there. So we're able to make those adjustments and edit as needed. And I think when it comes into after they get out of core protege into more adaptive creative settings, some of them work a little faster than others, and especially those that are go-getters. And so you have the ones that used to get done with worksheets ahead of time and will be waiting for that next worksheet. And so with this, they're able to see all of that requirement and kind of work independently, but also in a controlled environment really easily too, because of how we have it broken down.
Perfect. No, glad to hear that. I was just thinking about question. We didn't have it on the slide deck, but I mean, I don't want to have it be just like all rainbows and unicorns, right? So we know there was a little bit of a challenge with you're going from a fully paper process worksheet to a digital process, but then also changing the structure and the workflow. So can each of you describe kind of like if you could go back in time and you were just launching it now, what was the one thing that you would do differently?
I think for myself, I think we should have just transitioned them all right in the beginning, because it was actually not a hard thing to be able to go in and add where they were at. It just was time consuming. So if you have a couple of people working on that, you could knock it out pretty quickly. And so you can get them all on the same page at the same time. Because what we did was we transitioned with our newest class and then tried to let it cycle out. And it got a little bit sticky, and it was a lot of back and forth of I want to stay on a worksheet or I want to go on a worksheet. And it just was creating a little bit of hectic communication. So when we got to a certain point, I just kind of decided to rip off the Band-Aid and say, hey, I'm just going to collect everyone's worksheet from Adaptive today, and we're going to move you guys over, you know, where you're at. And then it was all of a sudden very smooth, very easy, and the transition became a lot easier for the campus as a whole.
Got it. Okay, so rip the Band-Aid off. Just get
Yeah.
everything in there so that you're using one process, right?
Yeah.
Erin?
We made that whole transition all at once. That was the easiest way for us, and we felt that our transition was the simplest for us, being kind of the similar checklist. We brought our staff in and kind of got their feedback, so that because we felt they were the ones out there. We wanted to make sure that it wasn't me sitting in an office making these decisions without having the impact or the feedback from our staff, since they were going to be the ones living it. You know, I can have all these grand decisions and grand ideas, but I'm not the one out there checking the boxes, living inside CourseKey from an iPad with the future professionals. So definitely wanting to include them and their feedback into the process. So I think that was big.
Awesome. No, good point. And then Ashley?
We did the same thing. We just transitioned everybody all at once. We collected all the worksheets and we just got everybody in and entered anything we needed to do in Freedom, and then, you know, did it all in bulk, which was really smooth. And we talked with the team as well first, and, you know, got their feedback to see how they would like it. For us, there's a few people that have been here for a while, and it was actually before we transitioned to Paul Mitchell. So some of us were already used to like seeing all the marks in bulk and not having those individual monthly worksheets. So I think it worked really well because we had some, you know, that only knew the worksheets, and then we had some that so we kind of meshed both of those worlds together. And then just really the only thing in the beginning, which you guys have fixed already, was that we used to have to download all their photos to be able to look them and check their work to accept it. But now it's a quick look, and, you know, we can make sure that that was us and we checked it, and we can accept it or reject it. So that's one thing I love about working with CourseKey, is that you guys are constantly evolving and seeing what's not working and making it work, and really like making sure that you're there for Paul Mitchell, which is awesome.
No, thank you for that. We actually I have some slides later on to go over some recent enhancements, or, you know, later ones that some individuals may not know about. So just to make sure. But yeah, the one thing I do like about CourseKey and working here personally is we take feedback very seriously, and then they, you know, they can't do everything, but they prioritize what is going to be, you know, most impactful, and then they'll commit some resources to doing that. And they do that pretty quickly in my mind. Okay, well, we are at, see, we already did that. Now you've talked about other solutions that you have. Not everybody has those solutions, but I did want you to spend a little bit of time of how do the other solutions enhance that skills tracker experience rather than, just having skills tracker. Aaron, you guys have sync attendance, the pivot point grade integration. We now have the SEMA integration. You're using forms, and then also cortex retention. Nina, at the Phoenix campus, you have the same thing. And then at the Merrillville campus, you have the sync attendance, pivot point grades, and forms. So can each of you just kind of give just a brief overview of how those other solutions do enhance that?
Of course. So obviously sync attendance and skills tracker is a no-brainer. When it came to the pivot point grade integration, that was huge happy dance in my world. I think very seamless process to upload grades and has been a huge time saver on an admin side. So love that in our world here. Forms has just continued to improve over the time that we've had it. I know when it first came out, I won't lie, I was an naysayer. I was like, really, how is this going to help us? I don't use it for everything, but definitely been using it for evaluations, and all the things they continue to keep adding to it are ways to continue for us to improve it as it keeps progressing. And then Cortex is something that we've just taken on and are really excited to work through it more on our placement side, as well as some of our communication with our current future professionals as they progress through their checklists and their worksheets. And so especially how our checklists are set up, I think the communication that we have set up to inherently be sent out to them will be great.
Awesome. And for those of you on the call, Cortex retention, think of it as a virtual FPA assistant, which we should have titled it that, but I don't know why they did Cortex. But all right, Ashley.
So very similar, of course. Sync attendance in the skills tracker. I mean, syncing attendance is wonderful. Every morning we're able to pull up a very quick who's late, who's not here. We can check that with who called, who texted, who did we hear from, who didn't we hear from. And we're able to upload that attendance very quickly every morning. So we always have that real-time reports. As far as the pivot point grade integration, that was really smooth for us too. And we also did a happy dance because we didn't have to go through all the pivot point tests and each individual person to see what grade they got and have to put that in physically to Freedom ourselves. So big time saver there that we're able just to upload that into Freedom. And then forms we are using for our core interviews, adaptive interviews, for their surveys, for their evaluations, and they are amazing. We have it on a trigger, so when they hit a certain amount of hours, they automatically are sent over to them, so they're able to fill those out. Of course, our FPA still has to check in with them, push them a little bit to get it done sometimes, but we're able to go right into CourseKey, see which we haven't checked out yet, which ones we need to review, which ones that we've already reviewed. We're still able to print out their surveys and then put them in our binder. And then there was one more thing I was going to say, but it's been wonderful, and it's easy to change them and publish a new one if we need to. So
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Thank you. And then Nina, just any of the additional tools that you're using, how that's in the user experience.
Yeah, I feel like obviously they said a lot. I think for us too, the option of having a lot less paper is really nice because you're not having to dig through as many things for them. But we're basically I think it gives a really great communication between education and the success coaches and future professional advisors.
All right, perfect. All right. So that's it for like the tips and tricks and practices. We do have time for questions at the end, but for this next section, I'm going to go through new updates on the skills tracker and then additional updates, and then new features. And then at the end, we'll have questions and answers you can ask the team. Sound good? All right. All right. So first one, it's nothing new, but I just want to remind everybody, we do have a support channel. Right at the bottom left of CourseKey, it's this little support button, and there's help articles that you can search for. There's one specifically for administrator skills tracker. There's help articles for students. There's help articles for learning leaders. And what we also have videos online, the how-to instructional videos. We also have a chat bot for quick answers where you can ask a question, get an answer. However, for more complicated issues or support, we do recommend you email CourseKey support. So just please be as descriptive as possible. Think of it as like we don't know which school you're at, what student is having the issue, or if an instructor having the issue, or if it's a certain checklist or certain item. So just try to be as specific as possible, provide screenshots, and that'll just speed up the process. That sometimes they can just respond right back and give you the answer or a quick instructional video on how to fix it. Okay, so I just want to remind you of support. Also then we have some new checklist settings. Some I recommend for the Cosmo use case, some I don't. Keep in mind, we do have other non-Cosmo clients on CourseKey, so some of these were created just for them. But you do have the ability now to require staff to grade submissions. This is great for the evaluations checklist in your skills tracker. So instead of counting quantity, you can actually set up a grade threshold of, say, if it's at 75% they have to meet. And then when the instructor goes through to approve or deny it, they would put in the actual grade versus just checking off of being yes or no. And then also, if you record that on your progress report in Freedom, you can actually set a SIS ID in the skills tracker, and then those will show up on your export report, import the grades into Freedom as well. Whoops. I don't know why it kept going. Let me go back one. There are two other settings I don't recommend for the Cosmo use case. One is require submission type. This is more for observational type of assessments type, where they have to choose observed, assisted, or performed. And just know that if you do turn that on, it's going to lock the student or restrict them from being able to submit items. So there may be a use case. I just don't see it yet. So I would just be cautious of turning that on. And then also, we now allow decimals between 0.00 and 0.99. Yes, some clients need like 1.02 on their submission, but not recommended for the Cosmo use case because FAME will not be able to support that import in. Okay. All right. Next, we have user groups. So a lot of you have already used these. Some clients just coming on may not have, but it's the ability to create, if you have a Cosmo program but you have a day class, a night class, or you have a 5-day and a 3-day, well, all of those students are lumped into that one Cosmo program. This allows you to create those individual groups of students, assign that tag to the student, and then you'll be able to search within the skills tracker or anywhere else in CourseKey where the student list is located, and be able to search by that specific group of students. So great way if you need like your core instructor or learning leader to search just for the core students, they'd be able to do that. Just want to remind you of that. Student info, now wherever the student name is listed, instructors or faculty will be able to see the student's contact information for either emailing them or texting them. Now that's if the student puts their phone number in, that is available. And then add a note. So this is more in line with the attendance piece. So it may not pertain to some of you, but the learning leaders now have the ability to add a note directly into the attendance page. Future professionals don't see these notes, by the way. And then also the admin has the ability to add staff notes that the instructors nor the students see. So just keep in mind that you do have that note feature now. I know some of you have already started using that. SEMA integration. So a little over a year ago, we integrated with Pivot Point, and as you've heard, it's been probably one of the best things that we've ever done. Happy dances all the way around. Well, we're hoping that the SEMA integration will provide those same results. So the integration is between SEMA and CourseKey, where exams are identified to sync over to CourseKey. Students and faculty will be able to see those grades under the program progress section in Skills Tracker. And then there's an export report you'll be able to quickly export that's already formatted to import into Freedom and Advantage, I believe. The good news is if you already import the report from SEMA and you have everything mapped out in your mapping table in Freedom, you can use those same codes. So once you sign up for the integration, it's going to be a pretty quick process to turn on those grades. They'll appear in CourseKey. Your FPAs will be able to see those as well when they're meeting with the student. And then you're going to be able to export those and import them in within minutes versus hand typing. Also, we briefly mentioned the forms tool. This was developed almost a year ago as well. We have preloaded with PMTS formatted forms ready to go. So whether they're the evaluations or the core, adaptive, or graduate survey, you can also create your own. We've had several clients create their own forms or surveys. Anything that you need to collect data on, you can actually build your own form and send that out to either faculty or students. And then also it instantaneously compiles those analytics on the results. So you have 10 students that respond today, you're going to be able to look at a report instantaneously to see, who hasn't attended the Title IX training? This one student has, I need to follow up with them. All right, so any questions over the skills tracker portion or anything else you want to ask the presenters here, Ashley, Erin, or Nina?
I definitely would like to see the core orientation set up, the handbook setup that Erin has on the forms.
Okay.
And then other question would be if we ever wanted to kind of reprogram our CourseKey to a different format, is there any way those students would be able to be changed over?
So good question. So the short answer is they can't be transferred from one program to the other. However, I do have the ability now that I can transfer, if you wanted to like say split checklist items from one checklist into another, I can move those checklist items. It all depends on the complexity of what you're changing, how you're changing it. So I would recommend we have a call where I understand what you're trying to change and see if it requires a separate program being created or if we can move some things around within the program.
Gotcha. Thank you, Todd.
You're welcome.
Hey, Todd, I have a question, and this might be a question for Erica as well.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't know if you, and earlier when they released the career specialist and they did some changes to the career specialist and placement and professional development, they said that be on the lookout for a new professional development list from CourseKey. Is that true, or is that just the professional development list that we currently have? Do we know anything about if that's going to be released or if that's changing anything in the professional development?
Yeah, I think that would be an Erica or Jen question. I haven't seen it or heard anything.
Okay.
Are Jen and Erica still on? Erica or
It's all
Jen?
good.
Well, if they join, I know they're on, but they're on mute. So
It just had said, and I didn't know if they were meaning that, you know, because we already have the professional development on there. But it made it sound like there was going to be an updated list
Got
so
it.
that was my question. Yeah.
All right, well, I'll if Erica doesn't respond during the call right now, I'll make sure that she responds when she sends the recording out, okay?
All right, sounds great. Thanks, Todd.
All right, thanks, John. Aisha, you raise your hand.
Yes, sorry, another question that just came to mind. One, yes, I'd also be interested in if there were any new professional development checklist items for Erica as well, just because the ones that we based off of on the worksheets are pretty outdated. And then two, I guess I would want to know like where I can get a little bit more assistance, because I am leaning towards creating a new program that is a little bit more generalized. When Amy and I had first set up the CourseKey for our campus, I feel like since then we've found out like what's working, what's not working. So I would like to go ahead and go forward with that. But I wanted to know, I guess I wanted a little bit more help on how you guys set up how many hours go towards each skill. Because for Texas, at least it's 800 hours of hair, 100 hours of skin, 100 hours of nails. As far as the TDLR site goes, I wasn't able to get into specifics of like how many cuts or how many perms they needed like per hourly mark. So I'd like a little bit more information on that for when we do the new program.
Okay. Yeah, and if you need to have changes to the program, definitely schedule a call. Like, let me know if we want to schedule a call. We don't have to wait for the next monthly test-based call. But as far as like the specifics of what you asked on the program development, things of that nature, I mean, that would be more of the PMEE type question. And I don't know if is there anybody from Dallas on or Texas?
The state of, can I talk for just a sec, Todd?
Yeah,
Just got
sure.
excited. The state of Idaho is very similar. They don't tell us how many specific we have to have haircuts, colors, or anything. So first off, I would look to see if somewhere in your catalog it's been predetermined somewhere along the way. Somebody said there's so many cuts, colors, because often it will have been broken down with PMAE further. The other thing you would want to know though is if it's not broken down further, like California says you're going to do so much in color, so much in this, so much in that, but it's not really specific. So you can go in and break it down more as to what you want to see on your campus. So for instance, you could say, you know what, I want to do so many short haircuts. I want to do so many chemical relaxers, so many permanent waves. And the cool thing about CourseKey is then you can go in and although it's 60 chemicals that you have to do, you can code them all the same. So they'll transport into freedom correctly, but then you get to pick what you want it to be broken down. Because if your state doesn't say, sky is the limit.
All right, thank you, Emma.
Thank you so much, Emma.
See, I told you I can tell you how to set things up, but when it comes to that type of stuff, I have to default to the pros. All right. Let me see. I'm just walking back through the chat to see if there's any additional questions. No, it looks like Erin is going to be sharing her setup with several people. And then also the forms as well. All right. Any additional questions either through chat or online? I don't want to keep anybody longer than they need to be. Aisha, is that a new hand up?
Oh, me? No, that's not.
Oh, okay. All right. Your hand was still up.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Erica, I don't know if you're on, but we do have some contact information. If you have any questions about any of the additional features, please reach out to Lenny Manikas directly. She briefly gave an introduction, or you can reach out to myself. If you have any questions about the skills tracker, if you need any helps with any of the, editing what you currently have to go to a different structure, let me know as well. Also for information in regards to the skills tracker and student kits, please contact Jenny Hines. I think you all have her email as well. And then Erica will send the recording out with a copy of the PowerPoint. And then if there's no more questions, we'll let you go, give you 11 minutes back in your day. Thank you, everybody.